With Wumpa League seemingly being right around the corner, I want to talk about 5 brand new potential characters that we could see. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new Wumpa League video. So now that we have basically pinned down that Wumpa League, or whatever it's going to be called, is likely coming to the Game Awards in 2022, I want to talk about the potential new characters that we could see. Now if you don't know, allegedly, Jez Corden has stated that he has seen some footage and spoke about it publicly on Twitter. I also used some deductive reasoning from what he said and figured out a tentative initial roster. You can check out the video here, but that means that these 5 characters that I'm going to be talking about in today's video will not be any character from that roster that we've already spoken about. So I'll quickly mention the characters that I think have already been basically confirmed. Crash Bandicoot, Coco Bandicoot, Tana, Dingodile, Catbat, Cortex, Embryo, Engine, both the Entropies, and Ripperoo. The 5 characters that I will be talking about will not be characters that are on a wish list or just some random characters that I'm pulling out of my butt and hoping that they get into the game, but these are characters that not only would make sense but also have some evidence that is currently in the game to back it up. So, without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Crunch Bandicoot. Crunch Bandicoot was introduced as the main bad guy in Wrath of Cortex, but finding out that he basically was brainwashed by Cortex, he has a change of heart by the end of the game, basically becoming the adopted brother to Crash and Coco's little family, with a plank of wood and feathers as a dad apparently. But over time, Crunch has become a fan favorite. That was definitely apparent when Crunch was revealed to be in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. The fan reaction was absolutely huge. While Crunch is a fan favorite, there actually are mentions of him in the game. Right in the very first level, you actually can see his name on the fridge on the right side of the beach. You can see fridge magnet letters literally spelling out the name Crunch. On top of that, in the background of the flashback levels, you can see an image of Crunch's face on the monitors, kind of making a callback to the Wrath of Cortex with all the green looking stuff. Overall, between CTR's inclusion and all the mentions in the game, I think Crunch is basically a shoo-in. Number 2. Nina Cortex. Nina Cortex, whose Cortex's niece, was introduced in Crash Twinsanity. Cortex used her for some experiments before sending her off to the Academy of Evil. She quickly became a fan favorite for many Crash fans, and to their delight, Nina Cortex was brought back once again into the modern Crash era, like Crunch in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which once again garnered mass fan appeal and praise. Now, Nina Cortex probably has the most interesting deduction as to why she would be in Wumpa League, as she is basically non-existent in the actual game itself. That is, until you get to the end. When you finish the game, there is quite a number of concept art pieces that are shown off. One of them is of a direct reference to Wumpa League in a sense. The picture is essentially Coco becoming an e-gaming celebrity by beating her rival. We can even see the W banners representing Wumpa League and even the leaked character Catbat. And of course, can you guess who Coco's rival was? That's right, an official piece of art that has Nina Cortex. Now, this in itself could be taken as plain evidence of her being in the game, but I decided to keep on digging, as I always do with everything. Back in August 2021, Elena Gray, an artist that we've seen before on the channel, posted a piece of art that was of Nina Cortex. You can see the art even includes an unmutated Bandicoot, or Bandicoot if you're referring to the canceled game Crash Landed. The art piece is absolutely amazing, and it caught the attention of not one, but 2 artists. Nick Cole, who is one of the leads of art on both Crash Bandicoot 4 and Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and Rob Dunas, who also worked on these projects. They both commented on this post 7 months after it was posted. Nick responded with "vibrates and unreleased concept art." Rob responded to Nick with a tweet with a GIF saying this right here. What this obviously suggests is that there was concept art done of Nina Cortex while Crash 4 and Wumpa League were in development, but Nina never showed up in game, so maybe she was cut. But then, why would she be added to the post-credit scene? To add more fuel to this confusing fire, I had an interview with Lou Studdard, where we asked some pretty hard-hitting questions, and one of them was simply, were there any cut characters? Here's what he had to say.
There weren't any, cut additional characters. The way that we kind of started was what we called the big black conspiracy board. We had these giant black foam core boards throughout the office that we'd pin stuff onto, and we ended up doing like this kind of draft of characters where we had a whole list of characters, and then we were trying to plot narratives and usage and things out of them. And then it became how do they kind of fit into the narrative? How do they fit into just the overarching core of the game? Like even just the notion of these alternate timeline levels was something that went through a million different versions, and then kind of just ultimately choosing a path and going with it.
Yeah, because the questions that a lot of people asked was Nina Cortex. That was the big one. That was the biggest one they were asking about.
Even when I specified about Nina Cortex, he said that no, she was not a cut character, and that basically the cast of characters that they had now was the cast of characters that they have initially pitched and got. If that is true, then why would there be concept art for Nina Cortex, and also is apparently unreleased? I think it's because the art that was done was not for Crash Bandicoot 4, but was for Wumpa League. So I believe, because of all this evidence, that Nina Cortex is also going to be in the game. Number 3. Nitrous Oxide. Nitrous Oxide first showed up in Crash Team Racing back on the PS1, being the first villain of a Crash Bandicoot game that wasn't just another flavor of Cortex's plans. He also made a return in Crash Nitro Kart as the leader of Team Oxide. Oxide was typically associated with just the Crash racing games. However, shockingly, Nitrous Oxide showed up very, very quickly in Crash Bandicoot 4. He was present for one quick, shocking, disturbing cutscene between entropies. Ugh. Yeah, we were all Nitrous Oxide in that scene. But Oxide is also present while we go through his ship and crash land onto Bermugula, as he comments through the intercom system as you venture through his ship. He also happens to show up in the post-credit scenes, the same scenes that Nina was in, might I add, as the new face of an energy drink company that sponsored his racing hobby. Honestly, it wouldn't make sense to bring back Oxide for a small, tiny moment like that cutscene. Have a model all set up, along with a voice actor from Nitro Fueled, only to be used for a single gag. I think that Oxide will be someone who comes to Wumpa League, along probably with the signature cart. Number 4. Spyro! Great Scott, this has been one of the things that I have been looking most forward to when it comes to this game. Spyro, the character that requires no introduction, no explanation, and the character that I think literally everyone has been screaming to have in the game. If there is one character on this list that has to make it to Wumpa League in some way or another, it's Spyro. Spyro and Crash, of course, have always had crossovers over the years, whether it be games, Easter eggs, demos, you name it. But the most successful crossover, I think, was Spyro being included in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, quickly becoming one of the most used characters ever. At least that's what I observed when I played online. Also, Crash Bandicoot 4 has an absolute slew of Easter eggs that relate to Spyro found throughout the entire game. From a Spyro dinghy in the first level, to a giant balloon float in a parade. Probably more than half of the Easter eggs in Crash Bandicoot are probably related to Spyro. I also want to add that whenever Toys for Bob has a chance, they always include Spyro in some way, shape, or form. On their TikTok, they showed one of their workers, Sean, showing off a day in their life. The shirt he is wearing is a Spyro Reignited Trilogy shirt. In Toys for Bob's first in-person get-together, there was a giant raffle table, and the biggest thing on that table was, once again, Spyro merch. Also, with Toys for Bob being likely the leaders on Wumpa League, and of course being the developers of the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, it would be a gross error to not include the Purple Boy. But I also think Toys for Bob is going to do everything in their power to have him in the game. Now, we might not see Spyro right away, like right at launch, as I think he would be released when they announce a Spyro sequel and kind of make it as a grand event dedicated to Spyro. but I think we have to see him at some point in this game's development. Now, before we get to number 5, I want you to, let's say, open your heart a little bit. Take a deep breath and try to have an open mind, okay? Yeah, okay. Number 5, Erupter. I know. Some people are gonna be upset at this suggestion, but let me explain. Skylanders is quite a controversial IP, whether it be from parents who went broke buying figures for their kids, to Spyro enthusiasts that still can't get over the design change on Spyro. I totally get it, but you cannot deny the success that Skylanders brought to the industry. And it's the game that really got Toys for Bob noticed by the world. Toys for Bob has always been seen as imaginative adventurers, engineers of dreams. I mean, have you seen the world design in Spyro Reignited? The point is, if you strip away the business aspect of Skylanders and set the redesign of Spyro aside, the concept of the game was absolutely brilliant. So much so that gigantic brands like Lego and even Disney tried to replicate what Toys for Bob did, and they just couldn't get it quite as good as Skylanders. On top of that, marketing-wise, this would be something awesome. If you were around 10 when Skylanders came out, which was a large portion of the initial target audience, you would be 21 today. Anyone born in the 90s feel like they just aged 20 years? I know I did. But Wumpa League would fit the new demographic of these new young adults now. And with it being free to play, this could be a great way for these young people to experience nostalgia like we did with both Crash and Spyro. Now, I use Erupter as an example, because that character was explicitly shown off as an Easter egg in Crash Bandicoot 4, right beside Spyro as a giant balloon float. But honestly, it could be any number of Skylanders, like Gilgrunt, Stealth Elf, Food Fight, and yes, maybe even Chaos himself. His voice actor already does Lonnie Lowly, so why not? So, based on some educated guesses, I think these 5 characters, or some variation of them, will be showing up to Wumpa League in some way, shape, or form. Who do you want to see in the game? Anyone that you desperately need to see? Comment below and let me know. And don't forget to subscribe for all updates on Wumpa League. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video and or live stream. Bye-bye!